what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. Let's talk about it, boys. What are LSU's goals for this weekend, playing a team like Georgia State? Stay healthy, right? Put up stats, certainly. You know, it feels like this entire season is boiled down to now the goal is win Jaden Daniels the Heisman. And then, you know, I don't mind getting some action with the young guys, right? You know, let's see what maybe Little Nuss looks like. What other young players would you want to see rep that maybe don't rep?
I want to see more Trey Holly. We saw him at the end of the Army game, and he played really well. He actually got SEC Freshman of the Week that week. We've seen a lot of Caleb Jackson, and he's looked good, but I want to see a little more Trey Holly. That's kind of the guy on offense.
On defense, you've seen them because they've needed everybody that they could possibly get out there. So some of the defensive guys we've already seen, even though we weren't expected to see them. I would say receivers. Samson and others, like some younger receivers.
Jalen Brown, guys like that.
We saw in training camp that, you know, certainly have some talent, but because you've got, you know, the best duo of receivers in the country, you haven't had the opportunity to see them. So probably I'm going to go young receivers.
The the defense is kind of interesting, man. They're not good, but I was talking yesterday, and my boy Troy Mercer, who shout out Troy, been getting my haircut by him for I don't know, damn near 10 years now.
Is he related to Roy D?
What am I missing?
Anybody know Roy D. Mercer? Is anybody old enough to remember Roy D? Good God.
I only know Roy from Super Smash
He
Bros.
used to prank call people.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
How big a boy are you?
I vaguely remember some of my Manny relatives used to love his comedy.
That tracks.
So
that
they used to love his comedy tapes.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
I think I've heard maybe a couple of them at some point.
We might have to play a Roy D. Mercer phone
I'm
call
down.
on the show today.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be awesome. Anyway, but Troy was saying, you know, he's like, I this defense isn't any good, but he's like, I kind of like him. They're a little lovable, right? And I wonder, like, I know the staff is where a lot of the frustrations are going to lie, but is this defense a little lovable in that it's a bunch of young kids that have been put into bad situations and they're just out there trying to do like anything they can to come up with a stop?
They are. They're doing everything and anything, and it's been different combinations of different players. I honestly, like, I can see what he's talking about.
Yeah, a little scrappy.
Toviano going out there as a freshman. He
Yeah.
wasn't playing at all. And all of a sudden, hey, you're going from not really playing at all to being a starter. And there's some saltiness there. You know, there's some grit and all those things that we talk about there. So, yeah, it hasn't been great, but you are getting an opportunity. And you're also getting –
Andre Sam's continued to fight. That's someone who has dreamed of putting on the LSU uniform. Like, he's actually gotten better and better as the year has gone on. His run fits early were awful. They've been much improved as of late, including one that resulted in him getting kicked out that shouldn't have.
That was a good run fit. You know, Sage Ryan's had to move out to full-time corner. So, yeah, for sure. You can appreciate the things that they've done for LSU and LSU football, like sometimes out of position and sometimes just doing whatever you literally have to do because it's the only option. So, and also, like, Toviano getting run like this is only going to pay off in the future. He looks like he's going to be a really good football player, like all SEC type football player for LSU. And so, like, this run that he's getting right now is going to pay off as you go into the offseason. Now, next year, you're not going to find out. You already know.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously, like, a game like this is a good chance for that kind of scrappy, and maybe you don't have to call them lovable, right? But I do have a certain appreciation for them trying to overcome what is a pretty bad position they've been put in on multiple fronts. But it's a good weekend for them in terms of goals to go play well, gain some confidence. Going into what is going to be an uber important Texas A&M game. Everything, like, you thought last year's mattered, and it did, right? It almost sullied what was otherwise a really good season. Right now, Texas A&M is literally the make or break point of your entire football season. And we can get into we can kind of dive into that concept further next week. But like even now, just thinking about it, Jake, like I said, think about all the work that goes into this year, all the work that goes into this season, all of the ups and downs. And now we reach an inflection point where it's a success if you beat them, and it's an utter failure if you lose.
I think that's pretty fair. It really is, because of the way last year played out, and you lost to a bad Texas A&M team. Looking at where you're at compared to where they're at, right? They shouldn't have any juice because they don't have a leader right now. And you could say, well, interim bump. I don't know how much Texas A&M is going to get that. And if they got it, it'd probably be this week against Abilene Christian, not against LSU. It's in your building. You feel like you owe them something, all of those things. And then we've talked about it. If you want to get to 10 wins, you have to get this game.
Yeah.
Like you have to get this one, and you're going to play a good team in the bowl game as well.
And look, make no mistake, right? If we look at the last 2 years before Brian Kelly showed up, you're one game under 500. So right now, just factually, it is improving, right? To go 10-4 last year and then maybe 9-3 this year, that's good. But even though 10-4 and 8-4 is better, that ain't good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's still improvement, but that ain't good enough. You pay Brian Kelly, the winningest coach in all of college football, $10 million a year to come and go 8-4, 5-3 in the SEC. Like 9-3, 6-2, okay, success. So LSU has literally, towed this tightrope, towed this line to now where going into next week, you're going to be balancing on a razor's edge, and it makes for kind of fascinating watching, quite frankly. It's an 11-8 kickoff. It's going to have a lot of juice behind it.
And honestly, think about how this series has gone the last couple of times. Yeah, A&M was bad last year, and they really dominated you, maybe more than anybody else did, certainly up front.
Yeah.
Like A-Chain had a pretty successful start to his NFL career, but they dominated you, and they were, again, not even bowl eligible last year. Go back to the year before that. They were a team that was, at the time, number 11 in the country. They had a close loss to Ole Miss, and then they came here still. I think they were top 15 team in the country, and you were a bad football team. And Max Johnson, as your quarterback, you went out there and you beat Texas A&M. And so, like, the heavy favorite in this game the last couple of years has struggled to win this game.
It's true. God, dude. I mean, it's funny. When we talked to Luch, Jake, he pointed to that A&M game in Tiger Stadium, the last-second touchdown for Max Johnson, as the actual inflection point where everything changed for them. Because I wish I could remember the numbers off the top of my head, but essentially it was kind of what we're talking about with LSU right here, where if they would have won that game, it would have been a really good year. They might have been like 9-3 or something, chance to win 10 games, second year in a row. And he pointed to that as kind of the secret catalyst for the downward spiral, that everything kind of continued to fall apart after that. So some shocking similarities, even if maybe it's flipped a bit. And my God, how good did it feel when who called that?
Dre.
Yeah,
Jenkins.
dude, how good did it feel? I mean, right there at like the one or the touch, I could still see it just right at the beginning of the end zone, far corner. Oh, beautiful, absolutely.
Dre was
beautiful.
Good for those, wasn't he?
Yeah. That was a fun night. That was a fun whiskey and wine. Speaking of which, I just got confirmation Don Juan gonna be open up at 10:30 a.m. next Saturday. So if you want to come get drunk and smoke cigars at 10:30 a.m., well, hey, come on, let's do it, folks. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe. Ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.